particular is so laughable that it is preposterous that you guys still make these claims. Number 3, on the big, beautiful bill, you are giving a giant tax cut away to the rich.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Krystal Ball and Brian Shapiro on the Piers Morgan panel. Piers Morgan is talking about the Donald Trump and Epstein files. Krystal Ball and Brian Shapiro are wanting to speak truth to power. Let's get into it.
To be in charge of NASA. And I think he is not really that experienced in the political arena. And he wanted to move fast and break things, as he's done with all of his companies. I think he's the greatest capitalist, Piers, in the history of the world. That's not hyperbole. And the problem is he's not in charge of the government. And the work that he did, the attacks that he got, I think he was unprepared for them. I think they built up. And the decision about the NASA head was what really kind of put him over the edge. And then he didn't like a couple of the minor comments that Trump made. And he just lost it. And I think he regrets. For people out there who watch Seinfeld, a part of me feels like he might pull a George Costanza and just pretend none of this ever happened, that he didn't quit, show up at the White House and do a handshake at another press conference with Trump. And I think Trump's actually been the adult in the room here, because I think he understands Elon and understands this was just basically a temper tantrum that got out of control.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, you know, it's interesting to watch it, obviously, for the delectation of the world. Is entertaining, like I said, on a certain level. There's also a more serious part to this. I mean, Elon Musk was brought in to launch Doge. He was going to get stuck into government waste. We went from $2 trillion as the ambition to $1 trillion to then, I think in the end, a couple of $100 billion. And at the same time, the big, beautiful bill is predicted to put at least $2 trillion, maybe more, onto the debt. So it didn't seem like there was much point to what Elon ended up doing or was able to achieve in that time. And that's quite a damning indictment of how the government system works, isn't it?
I also think it's an indictment of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump can be bought. This was a guy who donated, what, $300 million plus to Donald Trump's campaign, and Trump puts him in charge of Doge. And then Clay Travis is comparing him to a child having a temper tantrum. Well, doesn't that hurt the credibility of Donald Trump then? Why would he put him in a position of this power? And by the way, accusing him of being in the Epstein files. Where are the Epstein files? Why haven't they been released? I don't hear many MAGA Republicans like Clay Travis talking about that. You know, Clay, we've heard from MAGA Republicans calling Democrats pedophiles for years. Where are all you guys now? Why?
So right here we have Brian Shapiro just getting started. I do find it a little bit ironic that now that Trump has passed all of these bills that have slashed Medicare, slashed food stamps, a lot of children's programs, a lot of women's programs, basically every single program that could benefit just your everyday person. Now you're going to start seeing the cracks in the Republican Party. But they didn't want to let any of this out. They couldn't have let any of this out before all of these bills were put out. That is just something that I would like everyone to think about, Democrats and Republicans and all.
Why haven't the Epstein files been released? So I actually take Elon Musk's side on this, and I think it hurts Donald Trump's credibility once again, and it proves that the president could be bought. It's the only reason why Elon Musk was put in this position in Doge in the first place.
Well, we've got Roger Stone, who's joining us now. Roger, welcome back to Uncensored. Good to see you, and looking magnificent in your white suit, I have to say. This issue of what Elon Musk called the big bomb, that, as he said, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they've not been made public. Now, interestingly, Elon has since deleted that tweet, as he has the call for Trump to be impeached. So whether he's got, buyer's remorse on his own tweets, we don't know. But certainly what that has done is intensified, exactly as Brian just said, attention to the fact that despite promises to the contrary, these Epstein files have not been released. And now everyone's going to be thinking, because Elon Musk has been right there with Trump for the last 6 months or so at least, that there must be something in there about Trump that is preventing them being released. And even if that isn't the case, that's what everyone's going to think now until or if they're released.
Let me say a couple things. First of all, I think Elon Musk did the country a great service by establishing the largest free speech-based social media platform in the world. But once he released all of the hard evidence that the government was working with executives at Twitter to censor political speech or speech about health or any speech that wasn't okay with the government, he put a target on his back. He was almost immediately the subject of 9 different investigations. I think he figured out that if Kamala Harris was elected, they would have probably canceled his government contracts, destroyed his companies, and perhaps even put him in jail. So he helped Donald Trump, and I think he was of substantial help, although only Donald Trump elected Donald Trump. I've written a book, Clinton's War on Women, covers the Epstein matter very exclusively. I read all of the pleadings of the Epstein victims. There is nothing to this. Donald Trump was on Epstein's plane one time.
Roger Stone is one of Trump's longest serving political advisors. So I am sure that if Donald Trump was doing anything wrong, Roger Stone would be the first one to tell you that, that his literal boss is in the wrong. Yeah, give me a break. He's not going to mention Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre, the woman who, recently passed away due to, they're not going to say that it was suspicious, but they're going to cover it up, basically. But she got hit by a bus. She had passed away a few days later, I believe a month later in the hospital. But Virginia Giuffre was on trial with Epstein. She was one of the ones calling out all of the hypocrisy, everything that's going on with these files. She had gotten, I believe it was an assassination, and she was groomed by Ghislaine Maxwell at the Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. I don't know if it is, I'm not wanting to put any pieces together. I'm not wanting to get conspiratorial, but if people aren't mentioning this, if this story keeps on getting pushed under the rug, especially the fact that she was groomed at Mar-a-Lago, it looks terrible.
It flew from New York to Palm Beach and back. Marla Maples, his wife at the time, and his daughter Tiffany were on the plane. Never went to the island. Never went to his ranch. This is a canard. I think it was irresponsible of Elon to throw it out. I, too, would like to see the release of the files. However, I think Kash Patel summed this up. The DVDs, the hard drives that were removed from Epstein's home seem to have disappeared under the previous administration. So, and the impeachment thing is beyond the pale. Elon is right. We do need to cut federal spending. I would just argue that the big, beautiful bill was not the place to do it. The tax relief there in itself merits the passage of the bill. They just sent a rescission bill up for $9 billion. Seems like a lot of money, but it's about 5% of what Elon Musk has identified. We're going to have to do much, much better.
Okay. I saw you smirking a bit there, Krystal. I don't think you're fully buying into Roger's narrative of this. So over to you.
So, let's start with the Epstein piece. We have tapes of Jeffrey Epstein saying he and Trump are besties for a decade. We have photos and videos of them together. We know he was on the plane. Now, suddenly his administration, they did this fake thing with the influencers where they released these binders of information that was already public. Now you have Kash Patel going on with Joe Rogan and claiming that the cameras were on the cell and that for sure we know he definitely killed himself. It doesn't take a genius to put 2 and 2 together between Trump's direct connections to Epstein and the potential, the pro-Israel tilt of the Trump administration, the potential intelligence ties, to imagine some reasons why this was never going to come out and why the right was foolish to ever believe that this was going to come out. That's number one. Number two, to still run around and pretend like Elon or anybody on the right are committed to free speech as we watch the crushing of dissent with regard to Palestine in particular is so laughable that it is preposterous that you guys still make these claims. Number three, on the big, beautiful bill, you are giving a giant tax cut away to the rich in order to make sure that you're cutting the health care of poor people to fund this giant tax cut to the rich. It's a gigantic giveaway. Elon is a monster. He's already, caused the death of 300,000 people around the world. The estimates are that that's going to be millions over time. But he's got Trump dead to rights on the Epstein stuff, on the fact that he was able to buy the election, that the tariffs are going to cause a recession, and also, oh, by the way, he should be impeached.
We could see that Roger Stone, was wanting to do his best to try to interrupt her, even though she allowed him to speak his entire bull crap statement for a good who knows how long. I saw a few flies come out of Roger Stone's mouth at that point. point, but it's insane that they're going to want to twist the narrative so much. I mean, and look, Virginia Giuffre is not even being mentioned on these platforms such as Piers Morgan. I don't see anyone talking about what happened in that situation, and I damn sure don't see anyone mentioning the fact that she was groomed at Mar-a-Lago. It's insane how wide open it is. It's on the news. It's out here on Google, like, to find, but it's never going to be broadcasted. No one's ever going to use that as a speaking point. It's a little bit suspicious to me. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.